Welcome to the Dojo Talk Podcast. Please remove them shoes before entry.
Sam Master is here, and you still have not taken off your shoes.
Yeah. Living every day to define man's mission. Looking to the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you.
Yo, what's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Dojotalkpodcast. We are on episode number 78. It is a nice, bright, somewhat breezy Monday morning, March the 19th, when I'm recording this at the time. As always, before I get started, got to get the plugs in. So as you guys know, if you don't know by now, you can listen to this podcast on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes. If you're on iTunes, please rate, subscribe, and most importantly, leave a review. I would greatly appreciate it. Questions can be sent to dojotalkpodcast@yahoo.com. You can follow me on Twitter @SerialSensei, and you can hit us up on Facebook also. Just go to Facebook, type in Dojo Talk Podcast, and you will find us there also. So, that's my long morning spiel intro. I guess real quick, before I get into meat and potatoes of the episode, got some album reviews on deck. But before we get to that, just a few other random ramblings. Had a nice, humbling experience yesterday. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned on this podcast that I am a writer, even though I don't talk about writing on my podcast. That is kind of what I do, or at least what I'm trying to do. That's the dream goal, what I would like to make a career out of. And lately, within like these last couple years, I've been getting a lot more serious about it, which has involved me dusting off a lot of old projects and trying to edit them, reworking them, trying to make them the best that they can possibly be. So, had an old script that I had wrote a while ago that I've rewritten maybe once or twice, and I knew it wasn't really like ready to be up to par and sent to competitions. So I sent it off to an editing service that I came across just to get some feedback on it. And I got my email back last night finally after about I think I sent it to him about a week or two ago. And boy, did they tear that screenplay apart. Boy, they made me feel like this might not be the thing for me. But I appreciated it though. You need the honest feedback. A lot of the critiques they had, I was pretty sure they were gonna say, but then there was some also that I honestly just hadn't even considered. So yeah, I got that email last night. I was like, man, like they really laid into me. But it's all good. It's all good, And in order to get better, so you gotta get knocked down a peg sometimes. You gotta get put in your place and knocked back down to reality. So it's all good. I appreciate the the honesty they gave me. So I definitely gotta get back in the lab. Gotta get to reworking the script. Doing what I can do to make it better. I also got my book. Sent that off to get edited. Still waiting to get that back. So glad I've been making like real progress on that. So hoping the book, the script I know is gonna take a while. The book I've been working on this for years, and I'm hoping like this should honestly be a real thing by the end of this year. Like editing has been like the hardest step, and I'm pretty much, I would hope to say I'm at the ending phases of editing. So once I get this edit back, this will be my final edit, and then I will move on to the next step, which I'm not quite sure what it is because I'm doing this independently. I don't really have a book on how to get any of this done. I'm just kind of learning as I go. But yeah, man, the indie grind, man, is real. From the podcast to writing, just being a content creator in general, the indie grind is very, very real. So yeah, man, but anybody who's a creator out there, get other people to look at your projects, whether it be writing or music or whatever it is you do. they will definitely pick up on things that you didn't notice, and they might knock you back down to reality. You might not like any of what they say, but it's probably true. So, just keep that in mind when you're out there creating. Other opinions do matter as much as we like to think they do not. They do matter. They'll catch mistakes that you're not looking out for. But on to one other thing I meant to mention. At least like a week or two ago, I went to see that movie Annihilation. For people who are unaware, and I won't spend a ton of time talking about this, not even really like a full review, just some quick liner notes and thoughts. Annihilation was, I guess you would call it like a sci-fi, or I'll say on IMDb, they have it listed as an adventure / drama / fantasy, which, I guess that's pretty accurate. I would still say like a sci-fi-ish, but you get the gist of it. But yeah, this was a sci-fi film. Not really, at least from what I heard, it didn't get like a ton of buzz. I saw a couple of people who I follow on YouTube and Twitter talk about it, and this normally wouldn't be the kind of movie I would like rush to go see, but enough people talked about it that it kind of piqued my interest. So I looked up a trailer, checked it out. I think I also gave it a shot. It was directed by Alex Garland, same guy who did Ex Machina, which I really enjoyed. So I figured I would give this a shot. So actually, me and my brother went to see this about a week or two ago. And like I said, this isn't normally the kind of movie I would really watch. But I enjoyed it. It was kind of weird. It was a little different, but it was a really interesting take. How do I even describe this? A really interesting take on like nature, growth, creation, aliens, I guess you could kind of say. Movie stars Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason-Leigh, if I'm saying that right, Tessa Thompson. But yeah, man, it was just, like I said, I can't really get into too much details. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it. But I would say, like, if you were somebody who saw this trailer and you maybe like you were on the fence about seeing it, definitely watch it. It's worth a watch. It's definitely it's something a little different. It's definitely something a little different. I want to say I saw that this was going to be on Netflix soon. I might be confusing it with another movie. I'm not sure. But I didn't mind spending money on it. But if you don't spend money on it, it's definitely at least worth a Netflix watch. Like I said, it's something a little different. It's very like throughout the whole movie, you just get this eerie feeling like something's wrong, something's off, and you kind of spend the whole movie in your head trying to figure out what it is until it actually happens. And I kind of like that because it builds up some kind of tension. But yeah, man, Annihilation, it was a pretty dope flick. So shout outs to everybody involved creating that. I think it was based on a book also, I'm not sure, but yeah, go check out Annihilation. It's a pretty dope, pretty different, sci-fi / fantasy / adventure flick. That's pretty much all I've been kind of watching lately. Oh no, I lied. I've been watching Dragon Ball Super episode 130, which by the time you guys hear this will have happened already. That came out on Saturday. This is the first time I was able to watch Super with the rest of the world because I finished playing catch up. Man, the series is so fire, man. I'm so glad I rushed to catch back up to all these episodes that I had missed out on. So I've been binging Super for like a month and a half, and yeah, man, episode 130, boy. Android 17 is the GOAT. I know everybody's... Oh, yeah, spoilers. I'm sorry. Spoilers are definitely coming if you have not seen the episode. But I know a lot of people were talking about Frieza, and I already knew Frieza was still alive. I knew he was going to pop up at the end of the episode. I didn't expect it to be in that way. But I knew he was going to be there. Excuse me. But Android 17, yeah, I thought he was long gone. I thought we got him out of here. Yeah, man. I think 17 is the GOAT, man. 17 is like one of the best characters in this whole series. So I'm really interested to see though how they're gonna compact these last like 20 plus minutes in this last episode. you got a lot to close out on, and I'm pretty sure most of this is going to be a fight. So I'm not sure how they're going to close all this out. But we'll see, man. But either way, Dragon Ball Super is fire, man. That show is straight flames. So if you were like me, you waited a while to watch Super, it's worth the watch. Trust me. It is very, very well worth the watch. But that's all pretty much I've been doing lately. Not too much going on in my life right now. I've been lazy and busy at the same time, if that makes sense. I didn't go out anywhere this weekend, but I've been taking a ton of notes, prepping for other podcasts. Quick note to the fight fans, me and Anti-Cool got a special treat. We'll probably be recording on Saturday, even though there are no fights, at least no UFC cards, but we got a nice little dedication episode coming on. We'll be recording on Saturday, probably be released, Monday or something like that, so be on the lookout for that. Actually, I need to do prep research for that after I finish recording this, which you're hearing right now. But with that being said, I've rambled on enough. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. So you guys already know, album reviews, man. Gotta talk about all this music that has been dropping between February and March, that has just been slapping us in the face like every other week. It's been kind of hard to keep up with all of these albums, but I got 3 of them on deck, man. We're going to talk about Jericho Jackson, which is Elzhi and Khrysis. We're going to talk about Phonte, No News is Good News, and we will talk about Black Milk's album Fever, and of course, recommendation at the end of the episode. So we're going to run this from the top, and let's start with Jericho Jackson. So for those who don't know, Jericho Jackson is a group made up of Elzhi and Khrysis. Khrysis being a producer. Well, he also raps sometimes too, but Khrysis on the boards mainly. Elzhi on the mic. Elzhi, you pretty sure, well, if you're familiar with Detroit's hip hop scene, you should know who Elzhi is. This is the follow, not really a follow-up because this is a collaborative album, but remember we went a long time without hearing from Elzhi, and he finally came back with Lead Poison, putting out music again, and he's back again, man. We got the Jericho Jackson project, and I'm just happy that Elzhi is releasing music, consistently again, because like I said, we went some years without hearing from this man, so it's been good to get a good dose of his lyrics lately, because it seemed like he just disappeared for a while, but we got him back for now, so we gotta cherish this while we got it. But yeah, Jericho Jackson album is titled Elzhi and Khrysis Are Jericho Jackson, and we'll just get right into it. This album, pretty quick listen, man. 11 tracks. Pretty straight to the point. As I said, produced entirely pretty much by Khrysis. A lot of the beats on here, it kind of reminded me a bit. It gave me a lot of a Lead Poison kind of feel. A lot of the beats are really kind of like low key, kind of lo-fi. Nothing's really slapping you over the head. Just really like low key, really mellow. You might get a track or two here and there that kind of picks up the pace a little bit, but I feel like for the most part, like the beats are just, like I said, it's just real lo-fi, really low key. The beats kind of lend themselves to stare to Elzhi and let the lyrics kind of take the forefront, and the beat just kind of provides just kind of like a foundation, but it lets Elzhi kind of, I think, shine more. It did take a little bit for the production to grow on me, because like I said, the album it's very lo-fi, and I kind of wish maybe it just would have switched up a little more. Not to say that the beats are like samey, but like I said, I feel like the mood of the album doesn't change all that much, so it took a little bit for the instrumentation to grow on me, but eventually it did, and I think it's kind of mainly to Elzhi's credit. Not that any of these beats are bad, but Elzhi's just such a beast on the mic that Just like I kind of don't care whatever beat he's over. Like the dude is just barring it up, so I'm gonna listen regardless. But I mean, Khrysis held it down on the production, and like I said, it's not anything too crazy. It's just a nice compliment to Elzhi. Like I said, it gave me kind of a Lead Poison feel to it. So if you enjoyed that album and like the production on there, I think you would enjoy this. Lyrically, it's Elzhi, bro. Like, what you want me to say? Like the man never in his life has ever slacked on lyrics or flow or anything like that. Content wise, like content wise, this album almost seems like not completely, kind of like a continuation of Lead Poison, but Lead Poison was kind of him in like that state of depression, that state of self-doubt. This album, I think, is he's kind of still there, but kind of on the tail end of it, I would say. Like he still has the self-doubt, but I feel like it's a bit more confident. It's a bit more braggadocious. He's kind of pulling himself out of that mode and kind of like, he's getting his footing again, getting his groove back. So yeah, content wise, man, like I said, you still get your introspective tracks, but you also get some topic driven tracks. You get tracks like that talk about police brutality. You get some storytelling tracks on here about friendships and relationships. There's a song on here called To-Do List, which is literally what the track implies, like just a track describing of things he wants to accomplish and the goals that he has set out for himself. And then my favorite kind of tracks, when you get, I'll get to it later, tracks like Baguettes, where dude is just bars. Like it's like dude can Elzhi has a way to just get on tracks and he can just go. Like he just goes. And like I said, I feel like that's the shining part of this album, is just his Elzhi's lyricism, is his wordplay, it's the confidence in his flow, all of that packaged together. Like the dude is just a beast MC and lyricist, and that's why I said it almost doesn't matter what kind of beats that he raps over, because the dude, his skills are so good that it's just like, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, if you've listened to Elzhi for this long, you kind of already know what I'm talking about. I guess for anybody who's new, Elzhi is one of those. He is a very, I would say, like, elite lyricist. Like, very sharp pen game, very witty with words, really just in the pocket flow, never misses a beat. There's nothing. There's not a lot to say. Like I said, if you know, you know. If you don't, you'll find out when you put this on. So I guess I'll just get into some of my favorite tracks. Because like I said, it's not like this album is. It's not really like overly complex. It's not anything that you can't digest. It's pretty straight to the point. When you listen to the tracks, you're gonna know the topics of what he's talking about. It's just the way he delivers it, the way his flow is, the way his wordplay is, that makes it just awesome to listen to. But some of my favorite cuts on here, definitely Self-Made, which was one of the, I think that was like the lead single. That was at least the first single that I heard from this album. I love the horns on the beat, so shout outs to Khrysis. This was actually one of the more beats that was a bit more like lively compared to the other ones. So I definitely appreciated that. I love the line, that's just how I'm blazing, nothing short of amazing. Had a brush with death and all it did was make my wave spin. Like, bro, Elzhi just, it's so many bars throughout this album. And I wrote a couple of them down, but like if I really spent the time to get all of the bars in this album, I'd be writing for days. Like, it's so many just dope lines in here. But Self-Made is definitely a favorite track. Cuffing Season is another favorite track of mine. I kind of like how he flipped that term. Normally you think of cuff season, you think of, people boo loving, all that good stuff. But he kind of flips the meaning into you gotta watch yourself out in the streets, because the cops are about to cuff you up because they're looking for any reason to get you out of here. So in that track, that's one of the examples where he kind of mentions things like police brutality and profiling and things like that. So that was a really dope track. I love how he flipped the meaning of cuffing season. 17 is another favorite track on here. I really like his storytelling ability on this track, where he, I think in the first verse, he talks about like this young kid who, kind of just running the street life, but he's not aware that, like, just because you're young, it doesn't mean you're invincible. Like, you can get got out here too. Your age doesn't mean anything. And really, I can't remember if it was on the hook, but he says like you wouldn't be the youngest corpse that haven't seen. So like lines like that, like he's just letting the person know, like, you're out here young and wilding out, but dude, you can get got just like everybody else. So I really enjoyed the storytelling on that track. Overthinking is another good track. Actually, I think that's the opener. Overthinking, though, that's a really dope track. Really, the track is what you would think it's about. But I guess for me, as someone who kind of lives in their head, this track kind of hits home. And like I said, it's pretty much about him talking about just like various situations and what thoughts he may have running through his head at like any given time of the day, and how he might be. He's just questioning everything, but he's wondering if is he overthinking it? Is it more simple than he's making it out to be, or maybe it's more complicated? And I feel like there was like an interlude before that track, or is it at the end? Yeah, there's a nice I love the outro to the track that really kind of like ties the whole thing together. But yeah, Overthinking, that's another really dope track on here. Really, I don't want to say there aren't any. There's some songs I like more than others. But like I said, it's only 11 tracks, but most of these tracks are really dope. Like I said, To-Do List I liked. Listen was cool. It was a little switch up, little relationship track. Getting down to the was this not the closer track, the track before the closer track, Brigettes. Just bars, like it's just bars, man. But it's like it's the confident way he delivers these bars, man. It's just, this is like Elzhi in prime form. Definitely, this might be the favorite track. Like, it's at least like top 2. But yeah, Brigettes is flames, just straight flames. And then he ends the album out with Thank You, which is a nice dedication track. Shouting a lot of people out, people who helped him to get where he is, things like that. But yeah, man, like, I don't have a ton else to really say about this album. It's beats and rhymes. Like, that's what this album is. Or I always say, like, lo-fi beats and rhymes. Like, if you listen to Elzhi, you know what he's lyrically capable of, and that's what you get on this album. And if you're a fan of Khrysis production, you know what you're gonna get, and you get that on this album. Like I said, I would say if you don't like this on the first listen, let it grow on you. Give it a few listens, sit with it a bit. Because like I said, for me, my first couple listens, just because the beats were just kind of just so low and really moody, it took a bit for it to grow on me. But the more I listen to it, the more I like it. And as somebody who enjoys lyricists and wordplay, this is definitely something I can go back to, because I'm always picking up on like a new bar or a new reference that he might have said that I didn't pick up the previous time I listened to it. But yeah, man, this joint is dope. It's just good to see Elzhi back, man. It's just good to see Elzhi back, consistently releasing music, consistently releasing solid projects. And from what I read in an interview, I can't remember which outlet I read this on, but Jericho Jackson will be like a thing. Like, this isn't just a one-off. Apparently there will be future projects, so whenever there's a Jericho Jackson 2, I'm in there. I'm all for it. So shout outs to Elzhi, shout outs to Khrysis. The album is just dope. Lo-fi beats, beast rhymes. That's all I got. I don't know what else you want. But Elzhi and Khrysis, Jericho Jackson. I will leave links in the description below to purchase the album, all that good stuff. So definitely give that a listen. Moving on. This album caught me by surprise. But my God, I was so happy when I saw this on Twitter. I was on Twitter one night and browsing down my timeline. I see Phonte post, "No news is good news," midnight. And I instantly got hyped. I've been waiting for a new Phonte solo project for a long time. For people who don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Phonte is a part of the legendary group, or was a part of the legendary group Little Brother, with him, Ninth Wonder, and Big Pooh, or rapper Big Pooh. You know, they had their split. Kind of wish they would get back together, but it is what it is. Things happen. Since then, all of them have, gone on to do other musical ventures and have all been successful in their own right. So that's at least dope to see that once the group fell apart, they're all still holding their own. Phonte, as of late, he gave us Charity Starts at Home, but that was back in 2014? I don't know. That was a long time ago, man. Charity Starts at Home came out a minute ago, but that was his first solo album. Really great project. Of course, he put out tons of work with Nicolay, with the Foreign Exchange projects. So Phonte's been busy, just not on the solo tip. We haven't heard from him in a while. He's, like I said, he's been more so just doing a lot of the Foreign Exchange projects with him and Nicolay. Then he had the collab he did with Eric Roberson on the Tickler Row album. So it was really just just great to hear he's dropping a solo, because as much as, and I'll say this, Phonte in my eyes is the best, bar none, when it comes to being able to rap and sing, and do both of them very well at a high level. There are a lot of rappers who can rap and sing or harmonize, but dude can legit sing, has full R&B projects out that sound amazing with him and Nicolay. And rapping wise, you already know, bars for days. So that takes us to this album, No News is Good News. Let me give shout outs to some of the producers who helped craft the sounds of this album. So we got DJ Harrison, Marco Polo, King Karnov, Abjo, DJ Cosmos, Illingsworth, Knots, and Tall Black Guy. Those are all the credits I found, so if I'm missing anybody, I apologize. But shout outs to everybody who helped craft the sound of this album. Beat wise, not anything, out of the lane, I would say, of Phonte. Pretty much the kind of beats I think you would expect him to rap over. I do like that a lot of this album is very, very soulful, very jazzy. Some of the tracks have just a nice vibe, a nice bounce to them. I would describe this album not even just musically, but overall. This is the grown this is grown man rap, from production to lyrics to content. This album is this album is your OG sitting you down and just giving you game, and that's just what this whole album is. And it's a great and sad at the same time, because the album's only 10 tracks. It goes by really fast. I think it's barely over 30 minutes. And by the time you get to the last track, it's come on, man, you could have gave me 12. But 10 tracks, he gets you in and out of there real quick. But in the 10 tracks, he left no room for error, and he didn't waste any of these tracks. There isn't there are songs I like more than others, but there isn't one bad song on this entire album. Like, every track has its purpose, every track has its theme, every track has a gem. It's just dope. Like I said, from production, which, like I said, is soulful. It can be jazzy, but it's still hip hop at the same time. Some of the tracks give me, especially towards the latter half of the album, have kind of like a foreign exchange vibe to him, but he's still delivering bars and singing over some of these tracks, but mostly bars. But like I said, it's a really good feeling album, just like sound wise. But I think the shining part of the album, even though the production is really good, is the content. Like I said, very grown man-ish to describe. He gets into just a lot of topics that I ain't gonna say people don't touch, but I don't think it's the way like he words it and delivers it that to me makes it a bit different from everybody else. Like I said, this album literally sounds like somebody's just sitting you down and they're like, listen, I did X, Y, X, Y, X, Y when I was young. You don't need to do that, bro. Like, I'm going to give you this blueprint. I'm going to show you where I messed up. I'm going to show you what I did right. I'm going to give you the playbook. Do with this what you will. That's kind of what I took away from this album. It's really honest. It's really blunt. I guess to get into more specifics, topics include just kind of like just everyday life issues and feelings, relationships, not even relationships just in terms of a significant other, but like relationship with friends, relationships with family, and how, you know, those relationships have shaped him. I really enjoyed, I think it were two tracks in specific, or one track in specific, and a couple of bars on another track. I have to browse through my notes as I read, but he definitely tackles the issue of like health, like physical health, like eating right and things like that, which is something you don't hear a lot of rappers talking about. And he does it in a way like it doesn't come across like corny or preachy at all. Like I said, it's very blunt and direct and straightforward. But I really appreciated him touching on those topics, because that's something that's been a thing for me for like these last couple of years of like getting my health back in order after I had fallen off the wagon for a while. So yeah, content wise, man, this album is just packed with content. Lyrically, in terms of like just flow and wordplay, Phonte gonna Phonte. Like, dude, you if you listen to Charity Starts at Home, if you listen to Little Brother, if you listen to Phonte on a feature, if you ever heard him before, you know the man can rap. The man can rap for days. He could rap circles around anybody, and this is it's no difference on this album. I guess I'll just get into some of my favorites. And like I said, it's only 10 tracks. I like every song on here, to be honest. So it's kind of hard to go through favorites because the whole album is really, really, really good. But I'll give you guys just a quick, maybe like 5 tracks to me that I can't even really say stood out over the rest. But I guess the ones that I find myself at least going back to the most. So Help Me God, which is the second track on here. Just bars, just so help me God, literally in the hook, just so help me God, I'll murder you niggas. Like, he knows like the skills he possesses in terms of rap, and he's just letting dudes know like y'all can catch this work. I love the line, I'm Hugh Master Killer meets Master Killer, your OG's OG, just ask the nigga. If you don't know, Hugh Master Killer is I think he's from South America, musician. So for people who don't get that reference, but that bar is serious. Really, that whole song is just nasty. Like I said, he just Phonte has just a way about him when he delivers lyrics. Like, he knows that he's good, and he's letting you know that he knows that he's good, and that you don't want this work. Like, you can definitely step up and you can get it. I love the track Phonte-No, which is actually the follow-up track. Really, like, the first, like I said, the whole album's good, but it's like these first like 5 tracks, the intro, the To the Rescue, which is the opener, So Help Me God, Phonte-No, love the really like jazzy beat on that one, and the hook is definitely like really soulful. I love the hook on there. Shout outs to what is her name, Tamisha Waden, who did additional vocals on the track. She did a very, very good job, and of course Phonte with the bars, like nothing else to say. But like I said, these first like 5 tracks are fire. But the one track that definitely stood out after Phonte-No, you get to Expensive Jeans, and I'm so mad that this track is only like a minute something long, but in this 1 minute, this track has like just some of the realest lines in all of the album, and this is the track where he addresses like health issues, especially in Black America, and how just like a lot of the things we eat, a lot of just our physical choices are literally killing us. I can't remember the exact line, but he's talking about like the young dudes are dying of the young people, we're dying of like old people diseases. Like we're getting taken out in our 40s by things that would normally kill somebody in like their 80s, because we're just making these terrible health decisions, and we're not really like learning from, you know, past experiences. I really love the line, our biggest fears were shots or armed robbery, now the biggest fears are clots and oncology. Like, bro, we used to just worry about getting shot at, or getting shot, or getting beat up, and now the biggest fear is like, bro, I might die of like diabetes or cancer, or, you know, high blood pressure, something like I might die of a health disease because I haven't been haven't been taking care of myself to the best of my ability. So I really loved how he went in detail on Expensive Jeans about that track. I mean, about that topic on that track. So that was really dope to hear. Cry No More, which is the very next track. Like I said, man, this album comes out the gate just swinging. Cry No More was definitely one of the more personal tracks on the album. Talks a lot about his relationship with his father, and kind of like how that affected his life, and how that affects him, kind of like raising his sons. So he's trying to raise his sons to be a good father to them, while still kind of dealing with, I don't know if turmoil would be the right word, but it's like the after effects of the relationship he had with his dad. So I really enjoyed that track, just for kind of how personal it was. Then you get to kind of like the middle section of the album. I feel like around this part, it starts to get a slightly more R&B-ish. Shout outs to Freddie Gibbs, actually. Track number 7, Change of Mind. This wasn't when I saw Freddie Gibbs on the feature, this wasn't the kind of track I guess I was expecting to hear him over. I thought it would just be another, maybe not even a bar fest, but a track that was a bit more like hard hitting, a bit more, I don't know, just, you know, Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs is it was just I felt like, at least from what I've heard, and I could be wrong, because I honestly haven't listened to a lot of like Freddie Gibbs' solo work. I've heard some tracks here and there, but this wasn't the kind of beat or like production or song that I would hear him over. But I thought he did a really good job, considering like the vibe of that track. It was definitely a different look for him, but I think he pulled it off. Like I said, I feel like towards the second half of the album, things get a bit more R&B-ish. You get tracks like Sweet You, which is definitely gives you a nice like kind of foreign exchange vibe to it. Find That Love Again, that's another favorite with him and Eric Roberson. Definitely took me back to the Tigolo album. Just kind of like that nice real classy kind of R&B flavor that Phonte and Eric Roberson can pull off. And then the album ends with Euphorium, Back to the Light, which is a really dope closer. And like that, the album's over. It ends that quick. Like it's only 10 tracks. It goes by really fast. But like I said, just the shining thing about this album is just within these 10 tracks, Phonte doesn't waste. No track is wasted. Everything has its place. And just the content throughout, like I said, it's gem on top of gem on top of gem on top of gem. Like, dude, it's just, you're getting some kind of game every track. And if you're not getting game, he's just barring you to death. And the bars are just amazing. So, yeah, man. This is definitely one of my favorite projects this year. Any Phonte album is like, I'm always looking forward to a Phonte project. I wish we would get more of his solo work, but the Foreign Exchange work is also really great as well. If you've never listened to him and Nicolay, if you want just some really dope, really high quality, like R&B kind of funk, that kind of vibe, definitely give the Foreign Exchange albums a listen. But No News is Good News. Grown man music, man. Give this a listen. If you've never listened to any of Phonte's solo projects, definitely listen to this. Listen to Charity Starts at Home. Both are just really grown man albums. Both albums really just tons of good content. But like I said, I feel like this album, especially for just kind of like the times we're in now, this album just, I guess it just kind of just hits home. I think it hits a lot home too, because I'm getting older now, so like a lot of the topics that he addressed, I feel like more so apply to me now, or like they're things that I've personally thought about. So the album for me, like I said, it just kind of hits home on a personal level, just because a lot of the bars they're so relatable as I'm coming into my own, all that good stuff. But album is it's dope. This is a really good project. So definitely give this a listen. Like I said, only 10 tracks. You'll get through it real quick, a little less than 30 minutes. But you'll find yourself coming back. I promise you, you if you don't leave with a gem from this album, you're the problem. It ain't the album, it's you. But Phonte, No News is Good News. Album is fire. Give it a listen. Just do yourself a favor and give it a listen. Moving on to the final album that I will be discussing, Black Milk, and the album is entitled Fever. Admittedly, this isn't the first, I don't think it's the first Black Milk album that I've ever listened to. This is the first one I've ever bought. He was one of those dudes that for the longest, I've always known about him. But I would listen to a lot of his tracks, and I was like, man, this dude is really dope. But I would never, for whatever reason, I would never buy his albums. And I became familiar with him around albums like Sound of the City and Popular Demand. And it's kind of crazy because Black Milk is one of those dudes. Oh, and the Random Acts Project, which was Flames, which was him, Sean Price, and oh god, I'm so mad. Wow, who was the other guy? Black Milk, Guilty Simpson. That's what it was. I was gonna be really mad if I couldn't figure that out. But Black Milk was one of those dudes who, like I said, I first became a fan of him mainly because I really loved his production style. His skills as an MC were decent back then, but it was mainly his production that drew me in. And if you just listen to his albums over the years, from, like I said, from Sound of the City to Popular Demand to albums like Caltroit, Album of the Year, the Random Acts album, listen to those, and then listen to his recent works, within at least like the last like 5 years. So albums like No Poison, No Paradise, the Rebellion Sessions, which came out, was that last year before last, something like that. If There's a Hell Below, his style has switched and just evolved so much that, like, especially in terms of production, that you almost wouldn't think that these albums were even produced by the same person. But it's been amazing to see like his growth as an artist, and then his skills as an MC have definitely gotten a lot better. I kind of liken him kind of like Odyssey almost. Like, him and Odyssey are two dudes who both talented at rapping and producing. Two dudes who have both, I think, gotten so much better at rapping than what they were from when like I first came across them. And two dudes who production styles just continue to just expand and grow, especially towards like the more live instrumentation side of things. So yeah, when I heard Fever was coming out, I finally decided, like, listen, man, I have to buy this. Let me give this guy like the fair shot that he's deserved for years and years that I kind of haven't been giving him because I haven't really been buying any of his music. But yeah, man, this album did not disappoint. When I purchased this, I just wanted just some good production to get behind, and I got it. His style is just so, what's the word? it's just great, man. It's really, I love his use of live instrumentation, kind of mixed with, I guess you could say like samples and programmed instruments, but like it's just a really diverse musical palette. It's jazzy, but at the same time it kind of like, it can be gritty. It can have like a little electronic touch. Like, he just gives you so many different sounds and vibes. But like the album, just like I said, musically, it just sounds really full. It just feels like every track was really carefully produced and like taken care of and groomed, so that it could be like a full track. Like, it feel like he really took time to craft this album, and just the production was so good. I wish, I guess let me give some quick quick shout outs. I'm scheming through his Bandcamp because I thought a lot of the live instrumentation on this album was really good. So shout outs to Chris Johnson, who played the trumpet, Ian Fink, who played the keys, Sasha Kosh Perko, who played guitar, Malik Hunter, and also Sasha Kosh Perko again for bass, and Chris Daddy Dave. Oh, shout outs to Chris Daddy Dave. I believe it's the same guy, and I'm not gonna let this pass me by, because you guys should definitely give this album a listen. I'm gonna find this album because you guys are gonna listen to it. Chris Dave and the Drumheads. Give that album a listen if you guys haven't. I'm pretty sure this is the same Chris Dave. And shout outs to Daru Jones and Black Milk, of course, also, who had hands in production. But yeah, quick side note: Chris Dave and the Drumheads. If you've never heard of him, he is also a drummer / musician. Listen to the track Destiny in stereo with Chris Jackson-Elzhi and Phonte. That's all you need to know. Go listen to that. But shout outs to everybody who just did live instrumentation on this album. It was really well put together. Like I said, just a lot of different just vibes and styles. Just really just good musicianship all on this album. So production wise, pretty much flawless. I have no complaints at all. Lyrically, Black Milk continues to improve as an MC, and I think on this album, this is like lyrically some of the best I've probably ever heard from him. He sounds really sharp. He just sounds like he glides over a lot of these beats, like he just flows in and out really seamlessly. Everything just works, and aside from his flow being really good, good lyrics, and once again, recurring theme throughout all of the albums that I've reviewed today. Just good content. Definitely a more, what's the word? Not even personal, but yeah, it's very observant album. A lot of topics of, things like police brutality, social inequalities, kind of like topics of hypocrisy in terms of, well, one in particular, social media hypocrisy, which I think I wrote down a bar for that, which I'll get to. You got storytelling tracks on here. A lot of talk of just kind of like the current climate, I guess you could say, that America's in, and us just trying to navigate through here and there in terms of like inequality, poverty, there's all of that whole gamut. He kind of runs through all of it. So you get a lot of topics touched on here, and you also get some really dope instrumental tracks, which I definitely appreciated on here. So like I said, yeah, a lot of good content in this album. Very personal, a bit political, but still comes off as just really just great music. Like I said, not preachy or beating you over the head. It's delivered in a way that he can get the topics across without sounding preachy, and just the music itself is just really high quality. So it makes it just a easy as a great pleasure to listen to. Some of my favorite tracks on here, and kind of like the Phonte album, only 12 tracks, a pretty quick listen, get through in and out. But like the Phonte album, there aren't really, I can't say there are any tracks on here that I don't like. Like every track on here is pretty good, but I'll run through a few that I thought kind of stood not head and shoulders above the rest, but the ones that of course I find myself going back to the most. Could It Be, which is the third track on the album. Really love just the real like bouncy, really like the upbeat vibe of that track, and that's one of the ones where I really loved how Black Milk just kind of flowed over that beat. Really seamless, man. He just, everything on that instrumental and his flow just seemed to fit so well. Really enjoyed that track. Two Would Try featuring Dwele. I guess you could say that's kind of like your one of like the relationship kind of tracks on here. But I love how smooth the beat is, and Dwele does a really, sometimes less is more. Like Dwele doesn't do anything crazy on the hook, but just what he does to me is just, it's so smooth and it complements the beat so well. So I really enjoyed how that came across. Black Milk, of course, did his thing lyrically, and like I said, I love how smooth that beat was. Laugh Now, Cry Later, which I want to say was the lead single from this album. Definitely one of the more content heavy albums. Heavy tracks on this album. A lot of this track is him just kind of pointing out the the dichotomy and the, I'm trying to think of even how to describe this. I guess I'll just give you this bar that I took note, and you'll get a feel for kind of where this track goes. I love the line, from raps to movies to Black is Beauty. Cops didn't feel the same, felt they had to shoot me. Laugh now, cry later. So kind of on the one hand, we think black is beautiful, black is powerful. On the other side of the coin, somebody else doesn't feel the same, and they feel so strongly that they're willing to kill you for it. So you kind of get different situations like that he references on that track. And then he'll just end the bar with Laugh Now, Cry Later. But that was a really dope track. I love the beat on there too. That beat was a bit more, that one had a bit of a darker vibe than I feel like the rest of this album did. So once again, just diverse production, so he can cover a lot of different moods over the course of this album, but it all still fits in place. True Lies, another good song. Pretty much the title of the song would you can kind of guess what it's about. Kind of him just, I guess you could say, unlearning a lot of the things that he was taught when he was younger, or even things that he knows now. Just him realizing that a lot of what he was told was a lie, or was like a half truth, and now he's kind of having to like relearn and retrain his mindset to, you know, get on the path as he sees fit, I guess you could say. But definitely enjoyed that track. The track Dive, love this track, man. I think there are like two or three instrumental tracks on this album, because I think Eve is another one. That one's really short though. But Dive, really dope instrumental track. It's really peaceful. Get a nice little drum and a little snare hit in the background. Really nice, calm guitar. I want to say I might have my instruments flipped and mixed up. I want to say that's like a flute that's singing the melody. I might have that wrong, but whatever that instrument is, I want to say it's a flute that's doing the melody part of the instrumental. I really love like what that just kind of adds to the track. That's, like I said, it's just something real like peaceful, real serene. You can just kind of put that on your headphones, man. You can just kind of close your eyes and just vibe out. So definitely love the instrumentation. Like I said, the production on this album is just it's so good. It's so good. So definitely appreciated him adding an instrumental track. And I love the closing track. You like to risk it. You like to risk it all / things will never be. This is really kind of like calm, airy vibe. I kind of just like the mood of that track. I mean, the lyrics of course are dope also, but I just kind of like the feel of that track. It was a really good closer to the album. And yeah, man, this album, like I said, it's so many different sounds and styles. Everything is just, it all just comes together so well. Like, I can't say enough good things about the production on this album. Like I said, it's really full, it's really rich. It covers a lot of different moods, and then Black Milk is able to match it with his lyricism, with his storytelling abilities, with his topics. Like I said, he's improved so much that it doesn't feel like now I'm listening. Well, I kind of do still just listen mainly for production, because that's what I mostly like him for. But his lyrics have definitely gotten so much better that it just makes the albums even that much, it makes them that much better to listen to, because it's not like the production is carrying him. The production is really, really great, but his lyrics and his topics are also really, really great. So dude he's amazingly talented. Like, he's definitely one of those guys who should probably get talked about more. Yeah, man, I can't say enough good things about this album. I'm pretty confident this is going to be in the top 20 at the end of the year. I'm not sure where it'll fall, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be in the top 20. Like I said, just from music to the lyrics to the topics, just everything about this album is it's done really, really well. And I got in the game late with me purchasing his music, but I'm glad this is the first album I bought from him, because I know I haven't gotten my CD yet. I don't think the CDs ship until around a little later this month, but this album is it's so dope, man. It's so dope. It's so good. So I could ramble on and on, but I don't want to keep y'all here all day. But Black Milk Fever, I will leave links below to the Bandcamp so you can buy, so you can purchase the album. Also give it a listen on Bandcamp, but definitely support good music, man. Purchase the music you like. Support these good artists. A lot of talented rappers, musicians, producers, so on and so forth, that definitely deserve and need the support, and we should definitely, get behind these guys when we can. So Black Milk Fever, amazing album. Just just great music, man. Just really just great music in general. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this album, but definitely give that a listen, man. Definitely give that a listen. And that's it for the reviews, but you know how we do, or at least how I've started doing like the last 3 episodes. Recommendation. So I feel like everything I've recommended, I had one movie. I've been doing a lot more instrumental album digging lately. I've been trying to get back into that scene. I feel like I kind of fell off for a while. So a lot of my recommendations might be instrumental albums. Because that's what I got for y'all today. So my recommendation of the day, the album is titled Nobody Has to Know. And this is from a French producer named Onra. I hope I'm saying that right. I've known about Onra for it's been a minute now. The first track I remember hearing from him was a beat he did called Keep On Loving Me, which is a flip of the Whisper song, if you guys know that song. But that came out 2000, I don't know, like 8. I don't know, it's been a while. But I've known about Onra for a while. He's always had a really like interesting production style, just different from a lot of other artists I've heard. Just quick mention, if you don't know who Onra is and you want to get into some of his works, my God, I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but check out the Chino series, or is it Chinoe series? I'm saying this terribly wrong. CHINOISERIES. Check out those albums. I think there's like a part 1, a 2, and a 3. Those were some of the albums that, or some of the beats I heard were from those albums. So check out those projects. Those are kind of how I first started getting into his music. The latest addition to that one was Chino series part 3, which actually came out last year. But he has a 1 and a 2 out. Also, he had an album called Fundamentals that came out, I want to say 15, 16, something like that. But he just has a very distinct production style. And on this album, Nobody Has to Know, he takes the vibe of this album is just so dope. Like, he takes a lot of these just old school, like 80s style and like early 90s R&B and kind of like funk, but kind of flips them to like this kind of modern sound. So like this, there aren't a lot of instrumental albums I've ever heard that sound like this. Like a lot of the instrumental albums I've heard when people flip R&B tracks, a lot of them aren't really like the 80s style. It's more like that mid-90s R&B. But this, like I said, he takes that really like that mid to like late 80s R&B style. So it's, some of it is like that real like slow, sensual. Some of it has like that kind of like that happy R&B bounce. I'm probably not describing this to the best of my ability, but it's a certain vibe this album has that just is so dope to listen to. The album's only 13 tracks. Like I said, if you just like that late 80s R&B sound, this is definitely something you should listen to. Like I said, this is pretty much like a straight instrumental album. I will leave a link to the Bandcamp below so you can check it out. And just a quick note, some of my favorite tracks, if you just want to cherry pick a few just to get a feel for what this album may sound like. Favorite tracks would probably be Secretly, Love Triangle, The Jam, Freak, No Question, and the closing track, All the Time. But once again, Onra, producer out of France, really dope producer, just really unique sound. Just like I said, has a really great way of just flipping that really old school R&B and funk and giving it kind of like a modern twist. But it's a perfect mesh of both worlds, and he pulls it off really flawlessly. So definitely give this album a listen. I will leave a link also to this Bandcamp, so you can give it a listen. You can buy it if you want. Actually, shout outs to Onra. Ordered the CD. I just got my copy a couple days ago, so this is the first Onra album that I've actually owned. So definitely glad to have this in the collection. But yeah, man, all these albums I reviewed today, I really thoroughly enjoy. Like all of these, I go back to repeatedly because they're all just. It was so hard to even keep up with all these, so they were just coming out like back to back to back to back. And there's still more music I gotta review. I'm gonna be busy in terms of podcasting. There's a lot of music out that I gotta review. Between music and the stuff we got coming with the Fight podcast, I'm gonna be a busy man, but it's gonna be fun. So that means you guys will be probably hearing a lot from me this upcoming month and into April as well. But just a quick recap, man. Elzhi and Khrysis are Jericho Jackson. Give that joint a listen. Phonte-No news is good news. Give that joint a listen. Black Milk Fever. Definitely give that a listen. And Onra-Nobody Has to Know recommendation. Give that a listen if you want a nice instrumental album. And as I mentioned earlier, give that movie Annihilation a watch. If you're interested in fantasy, sci-fi, give that movie a watch, man. It's a pretty dope flick. But that's all I got for today, man. As always, this podcast can be listened to on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes. If you're on iTunes, please rate, subscribe, leave a review. We're also on Google Play. Follow me on Twitter @SerialSensei. Send questions to Dojotalkpodcast@yahoo.com. Please send questions. I definitely want to interact with some of you guys, so I'd be interested to hear any questions you may have, even if they're not music related. Don't give me anything too wild, but definitely would like to hear from you guys, have a bit more fan interaction. And on Facebook, just go to Facebook, type in Dojo Talk Podcast. You will find us there also. But that's all I got for today. So as always, this has been another episode of the Dojo Talk Podcast, and hopefully I will catch you guys soon. Peace.